welcome, guys. Thank you very much.
Catherine, do you want to introduce us, or do you want to? Okay.
Yes, I will just say a quick couple of words just to say hi, everybody, and thank you ever so much for joining us this evening. I won't take the mic for too long because Erin and the team have a lot more interesting stuff to talk to you about than I do. But I just wanted to sort of connect the dots as to why I was on the call, and I've been working with Carl to sort of bring this together this evening. So I don't know if you guys know how the industry works, but you typically have an exclusive importer and distributor for a range of for the brands that are in the UK. They sometimes do it, do it direct and sort of build the brands themselves, especially if they're based over here. A lot of the English brands would do that and Scottish brands. But typically, if you're abroad, then you would go through an exclusive importer and distributor. And that's what my business, Axiom Brands, which I've got with my husband, we've been doing for the past 15 years. So Ian's history was actually with the Sazerac distillery. So he introduced Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare and all the fantastic products coming out of Sazerac back sort of 25 years ago now. So he really sort of cut his teeth with an incredible American whiskey house. Nice. And Ian and I started Axiom Brand to really discover future category leaders. So we've only worked on a very small number of brands over the 15 years because to find those unicorns is incredibly difficult. A few brands that you might have heard of: Whistle Pig rye whiskey, obviously from Vermont, just south of the Canadian border. That was an incredible brand we launched in 2015. The Glenturret single malt. I'm sure we've got lots of single malt Scotch whisky drinkers here this evening. We relaunched them after the Lalique takeover in 2019, and probably one of the most exciting sort of reinvention brands that we've worked on. So it should give you a sort of a feel for the quality of the brands that we work with, and those brands that really shake up an industry and they're a reason to be what's in the hub, the global hub for spirits and cocktails. So after we finished working with Whistle Pig, they went on to be acquired by LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moët Hennessy, and sort of continued their sort of global journey. It took us a really long time to find another American whiskey that really filled the shoes of that exciting journey that we were on, an incredible liquid and brand that we got behind. And we were introduced to the Barrell team through Hedonism Wines. Perhaps some people might be familiar. They're on Berkeley Square. I think probably the premier fine wine and spirits retailer in the world. They've been bringing over a few bottles and a few cases of some of the exciting releases that Barrell had done. And they said, look, these guys need a home. They've got amazing liquids. They're looking to really sort of break into the UK properly. And it was a very natural fit. So we've been working with the brand for probably about 2 years now with Erin and the team. And it's just been an absolutely incredible journey so far. Our job is to get it listed in all of the fantastic restaurants, 5-star hotels, the cocktail bars, all of the local retailers that you guys can start discovering some of the fantastic expressions that we're bringing over from the range. So we're in the background sort of doing our jobs, building the brand awareness and building the brand, but we also do a small amount of consumer masterclasses and getting to the real connoisseurs and the people who really sort of get behind and are super passionate about whiskey and of course American whiskey, which eventually that road led us to Carl. So enough from me, but I'm just super excited that we're sort of getting a chance to meet some of you this evening. We're really looking forward to being at the festival later on in the year as well, getting to meet a few more members. We'll bring some different products along to the stand for the weekend as well, so please do come say hi. But without further ado, and now we've got Nick on the line as well, I will hand over to Erin and the team to introduce Barrell, all the exciting things that all the innovation that they're bringing to the category, and we've obviously got some delicious products to taste through this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. You always say such nice things. It's so great to work with you and, have our brand over in the UK. So we're excited to jump on this call. So Ned, who works with Catherine day in and day out, is our senior region manager, is on vacation hiking in Idaho. So he's living his best life currently. But Samantha Williams is joining us as well. So she leads our control states based out of Louisville, Kentucky. I head up all of our sales and commercial. And Nick, who is now on the line, and if she was not on the line, we'd be really in trouble because she is and I do this every time and I do it different. So we'll see what comes out of my mouth now, but she is the Miss Wiz behind the curtain. I love the Wizard of Oz, and ever since I met Nick, I thought, Jesus, she's the Miss Whiz behind the curtain. So she puts together, there's a blending team of 3 you'll hear in our story. The other 2 are not on the call, so I can say this always when I'm on events with Nick, that she is the Miss Whiz behind the curtain, and all this amazing liquid that you're tasting these days is her brainchild, and just quality liquid. But if the other 2 were on the call, I would not say that. I would change my story. So you are hearing with Nick on the call. Samantha has a presentation deck that we're actually going to jump into, as long as we can share it, and then we're going to taste along the way. I think the last thing we want to do is make this some, can I use a British term even though I'm American, some stodgy, did I get it right, Kevin? Did I use a good British term?
Ish, stuffy.
Stuffy. See, I wouldn't get it all the way right. But we don't want to make this stuffy. We want to make it fun. But at the same time, the PowerPoint's going to give you some visuals and kind of help keep us grounded, because there's people like me in the company that could go off the rails if I don't have something to keep us grounded as we're talking. And then we'll get into tasting this amazing different whiskeys that we make. So Sam, are you okay to share your screen, or how's it going?
I just because we're not usually on Teams, so it's just having me grant some access to some things, it looks like, real quick.
I was going to say it should allow you to share. I've left all the options open and stuff, so.
This is always the panic moment of, anytime you do, whether it's a presentation, a virtual tasting, is the technology really going to work in order for us to show you what we're prepared for today?
I have all my things clicked on here. Let's see if
Do I have it? Did you email it in case you can't share it? Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I did send it to you, but
while you guys are sorting out some of the technicalities, just to give a little bit of a feedback for you guys over there in the States, can you give us a show of hands, those of you who you might describe yourselves as kind of early to bourbon, or maybe learning a bit more, you don't have a great deal of experience with it? I mean, I probably fall into that category. So
that's a great question to ask. That's a great question.
So most of us are relatively new to whiskey, to bourbon and to rye, and I mean, I guess we've all had, who's had experience of some of the indie bottlers here in the UK that might have sort of produced a bottle here or there of bourbon or Indiana rye or that kind of thing. Anybody? You two definitely have. So you were sitting outside of, so I know Dave, you have, and that. So Matt, you've definitely had the odd bourbon, haven't you, that's been an indie bottler?
I have tried some rye, which I've liked very much, but I wouldn't say that I know a great deal about it. I wouldn't say that I'm experienced with bourbon or rye. So I'd like to learn a lot more.
Yeah. So in terms of mash bill, for example, we all kind of understand what makes a rye. It's got to be a minimum of 51% that's of rye grain and things like that. So we probably know some of the basics, but beyond that, I mean, I think we're all kind of very much wanting to learn a bit more about what you guys do.
All right, can you see this? For some reason, it's making me share my entire screen, which means I can't see all of you once I put my presentation up there. So what are you guys seeing? Tell me what you're seeing on my end.
We see the screen, the presentation there. Just got to make it full screen.
Then I won't be able to see you guys. So I hate not being able to see people when I'm talking, because that ruins the whole emotion. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Now you're all gone though. All right. So I think I'm going to only talk for a little bit and try to take this away so we can actually see each other, because this will really annoy me. But at the end of the day, so what do we got? We've got Nick on here, and then we go from here. Let me start here. So we are a family-owned blender. We have been in operations. I'm going to do this off the top of my head since, what do we have? Do we have it? Here we go. We've been in operations since 2013, independently owned in the United States. Joe Beatrice was our founder, and in the United States, we were probably the preeminent blender. Joe, and there's a video in here you're going to see in a minute. Joe had a hankering to want to come out of the corporate marketing world that he was sitting in. He had founded a technology company before 2013 and was tired of PowerPoints, had worked with a lot of alcohol, a lot of big brands, big companies. So he liked alcohol. Wasn't sure what he was going to do. Came upon a place in upstate New York. Nick can probably remember the name. I don't know if I remember it off the top of my head, where he tried cast strength whiskey right out of a barrel. And I guess he said to his wife, that's it. This is what we're going to do. But I don't want to be like these big producers in America or anywhere else that make the same product over and over and over and over. So we're going to make cast strength whiskey, and we are going to blend it. So there's a big difference between a distiller and a blender, and I'll let Nick take that part when she talks a little bit about her background, because I will probably bubble that a little bit as I run all of our commercial and sales. But the point is that we have a lot of access to a lot of different whiskeys and bourbons in a rickhouse that we have, and an amazing amount of finishing casks that are sourced from all over the world. We are distributed all over the United States. We're in a couple international companies, Axiom with Catherine, the UK being one of them, Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia, Ukraine. And again, we are probably the preeminent blender. There's been a lot of blending houses that have came up on the scene, especially since COVID. We are, again, the family operation of that. And we are also probably the most highly awarded in the independent blending space that you will find. I think let's go this way and kick off Nick here. So this is Nick Christensen. Again, we are a blending team of 3. I mentioned Joe Beatrice. Joe, along the way, which you'll see in the video, found a chief whiskey scientist who had a background from some of the bigger companies in whiskey. He came on board with Joe. I believe they made a lot of great whiskey and liquids for a good amount of years until they came upon Nick. And let me get this right, Nick, was it 2019?
Yes, that's correct.
So 2019, where they found Nick from, we also have another video that we won't play, but it's fun. It's on our social media. They found Nick as she was a buyer in a local, well-established liquor store, Butchertown Grocery, right, Nick, in Louisville, Kentucky.
A restaurant.
And say it again.
A restaurant.
Okay, a restaurant. See, I'm botching some of this, doing it off the top of my head. And they found Nick along the way. Nick joined in 2019, and that makes up our blending team of 3. So, Nick, I don't know if you want to briefly introduce yourself to the crew. I've already given all the amazing accolades that without you, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, just want to say hi to everyone. Thanks for having us here. And then since it sounds like a lot of you are somewhat new, getting into the American whiskey world, to kind of go on some of the stuff that Aaron was saying about Barrell as a brand. When Joe founded the company, there were not any American companies that really were openly talking about being blenders. So there were distilleries, there were
Stop sharing so we can all see each other.
Yeah. There were distilleries, and they were distilling the same things and kind of making different products. But there weren't very many brands, if any, that were actually proudly blending. What was happening is there were some brands that were sourcing bourbon from different distilleries and putting them in their own package and calling it their own, but not calling it out that they were doing the blending or sourcing. But I'm sure all of you know, in Scotland, sharing whiskey from across the country has been a common practice, and Joe wanted to follow those principles in the United States. So that's what we've been doing ever since then, and that has led us to source barrels over time from multiple distilleries. Sometimes we'll buy young, sometimes we'll buy old, sometimes we'll buy, different mash bills at the same time, and we'll put them in a rick house and we'll let them age. So we have a quite quite a large inventory of different things to work with, and that makes up what we call our spice cabinet. So that allows us to pull from different flavors that we find in the barrels and create unique combinations of whiskeys that we can blend together to create these products. On top of just having barrels from different distilleries with different mash bills at different ages, we also have a lot of finishing casks. So that adds to our spice cabinet and the different flavors that we have available to create unique products with. So that is my job, is to manage the barrel inventory, watch the barrels age over time, and by watch, pull samples and taste and follow the flavor as it matures, and source new barrels, new finishing casks, and decide what's going to go into those barrels, and then ultimately come up with the products from those barrels.
So we've had a number of master distillers, blenders, and things come and join us for virtual tastings and for chats. One of the things that kind of has astounded us over the time is that often it can be quite a sort of almost a gut feel that you're kind of pulling together the blends. Versus the almost exact opposite, where it's almost kind of a structured mathematical way of pulling together the kind of flavor profiles that you're wanting from your blends. I guess the question I was going to ask was, do you feel you fall more into the sort of gut-led, flavor-led almost, or do you have a quite a mathematical approach to how you want to form your next releases and so on?
I definitely, personally, my style of blending lends into like the artistic, flavor focused gut feeling. It's not, we don't have, equipment measuring the liquid and giving us analysis that we can use to pull together like what the flavor compounds are and creating a flavor profile based on that. Everything we do is by taste and sensory. So we're definitely on the flavor focus side. There are a lot of steps that we go into to create the blend. So on one side, I'm very familiar with the barrels that we have in our inventory since we pull samples often and I'm tasting them all the time. So when I'm starting with a blend, I have different ideas that I'll kind of throw into a spreadsheet. And in those numbers, I'm looking at, how many barrels do you have of this? How many wine gallons should that equal? And kind of piece together some like rough draft ideas. I'll take those to the lab and I'll throw them together into some lab blends, taste them, see what works, what doesn't work, see what needs to be added. And I do that multiple times just to get to like what I'll call like the base blend of the product. So that'll be like the majority of the blend, the structure, the flavor that is good on its own, but then I want to build on top of that. So that just kind of creates my starting point for adding more complexity to the blend. So then I'll work with that base blend, pull more samples, and try to figure out how to create a more dynamic whiskey, or bring out, if there maybe it's like a hint of like chocolate, but I want it to be more of like a dark chocolate with some nuttiness, see what kind of barrels I can find to get that flavor out, or different types of fruity notes, or whatever the whiskey is kind of there but needs to be elevated. I'll try to find something to add to it to bring out those flavors.
Great, thanks, Nick. Anybody else got a question at this point?
You're all getting ready to get into this liquid, huh?
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
One. So Nick, when you decide this might be the right combination of 2-3 barrels or the blend, so who is actually deciding when to blend it? Do you have a little team of 2 or 3, or is it just you? Have you got the monopoly?
Like you mean when to dump them and blend them together?
No, I mean when
So-
you think it's the finished product.
Yeah,
The bottle.
so it depends. If I taste something and I'm like, these are ready to go right now, I'll go straight to my team and my distillery team and tell them to dump these barrels, because sometimes in the whiskey world, if you let things go too far in the barrel, you could miss that like perfect flavor combination. So sometimes I'll create components that have a unique flavor profile, and I'll dump them and keep them in stainless. And then I know what that flavor profile is. So if I'm working on a blend and I'm like, man, I really need some bourbon that has like a super strong stone fruit flavor with apricot and pears, and I can go to this one component that I've used multiple times and know that this can kind of bring out this flavor. So there's that, and then other times we have a production schedule that we try to stick to keep the sales team happy with their products for the year. And so we know I've been working on the product for a while because we know it's going to release, in a couple months. So we know we have to dump the barrels before we blend it for that release. So sometimes it's just flavor based. These need to be dumped right now, and other times, it's part of a production calendar. But we've been monitoring those barrels, so we know they're gonna be ready anyway. Does that make sense?
Do you marry the barrels together in a vat for a while, or on sort of inert casks for a while, or do you just put them in a big stainless steel bucket and slosh them around and mix them?
So we have stainless steel tanks that we have a special blending attachment. Basically, it looks like a giant shaft with a blending blade on the bottom, and it can mix the tank completely over in about 10 minutes. So try to mix it up as quickly as possible and then let it sit. I do like to let the whiskey sit in stainless and mingle after dumping, instead of just combining everything together and not letting the flavors mingle together for very long. And it depends on what we're working on. Sometimes that'll be 2 or 3 things we'll put into stainless, let them mingle for 2 to 4 weeks, and then use them. And sometimes it's the entire blend is done and it's in a big tank, and we're not going to bottle it for a month because it needs to sit together for that long.
Nick, given that bourbon obviously has to be in a fresh vessel, a fresh cask, do you find that you get a lot of very bold flavors coming out? So actually sometimes it can be somewhat difficult to create that perfect blend, because rather than it being sometimes subtle, a tired cask maybe will add a certain note as opposed to a bunch of very, very big tannin notes. Do you sometimes find that somewhat of a difficult challenge to find those subtleties?
It can be a challenge, but the way I try to look at it is we have a wide range of different bourbons at different ages and different mash bills, and then also the casks themselves, depending on how long they're dried before they turn into a cask. They can have less tannins in those casks, just based, if they're like 4-year air dried casks, then they're just going to be less tannins than if they're 1 or 2 year dried. So looking for those variances, I sometimes want there to be like more tannic bourbon to blend with bourbon that is more softer and smoother and rounder. You can kind of add different types of like peak points of flavor, different texture. So I don't want the entire blend to be that way, but I do like having those options to kind of bring out some different flavors in the bourbon. And then I also like blending older bourbon with younger bourbon. So younger bourbon tends to have a lot more fruit flavor in it. It's kind of rounder in a different way. It's rounder like in a fruitier, kind of fuller way. Youthful, has like kind of not as much structure. But then you blend that in with bourbon that's 12 years old, which is very oaky, has a lot of tannin sometimes, and a lot of like bold characteristics. You blend them together, you know, with a 6-year-old, 7-year-old bourbon, you can kind of create some really unique flavors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to ask another question, but I'm actually very conscious of the fact that we're a little way in and we haven't even told you which is the first dram to
Yes,
to try
we're
it.
missing the good stuff, huh? Should we, so we had on this presentation, I had one more. I'm gonna show you one more video, and then let's get into these liquids. I'm gonna end with one video, and then show you the awards.
This is the story of Barrell Craft Spirits. Meet Joe. He's the founder. After a career in marketing, he had a wild idea.
What if I make whiskey?
Most distilleries make a couple of consistent products over and over and over, and over and over and over.
Frankly, I wanted to do something different.
Instead of building a distillery, Joe focused on blending using barrels he sourced from all over the world. Then he moved to Kentucky and met a scientist who happened to also be a whiskey expert. Together, they blended and blended and blended some more. And with that came awards, a lot of awards. Customers loved it and critics raved, calling it one of the best bourbons to stock at home. It's so well-rounded, so it's got a little bit of a complex and full of flavor. And that, my friends, is the story of Barrell Craft Spirits.
So that's kind of what we teed up in a nutshell. That allows you to see Joe and see Trip. These are, so not only are we a lean and mean fighting team, we are highly awarded, probably the most highly awarded independent blender in the US. This is just our awards from 2025 and 2026. Keep in mind, we do not put Nick's, Joe and Trip's whiskeys in front of every award committee out there. We like to just put them in front of the top award groups. So most of our liquid goes to San Fran. You see LA Spirits, Whiskey Advocate, Wine Enthusiast. And these are the awards that just the releases that have came from 2025 and 2026 have won. So over 350 awards in total. There is never a bad liquid that comes through our facility. The question is, can we keep up with the demand of the amount of liquid that we have coming out? As our American consumer base, if you ever meet a huge barrel fan, probably has a wall of 10 to 20 different barrels on their back bar. So that's usually our challenge, is not do we make anything good, do we make anything unique, but can we continue to get our barrel fans continuing to buy, because the range that we have is just so amazing. So from here, I think, why don't we pause on this release calendar? Why don't we pause on this? Why don't we go into barrel batch? It's 36, or is it 35 that you had, Catherine? 36?
The bottle I've got is 36.
Okay, all right. So that is going to be your first dram. Is
Well,
barrel
that was a
batch.
good guess, wasn't it? So
That
that's
was
that's
a very
sample
good
number
guess.
one.
That
That's
is going to
sample
be our
number one,
first.
guys.
So that is that number one that
I'm
you
being
guys have?
assaulted by a dog with a stick. What's that stick?
Do we, Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about batch 36, and then let Nick go into the nuances? Maybe tee up a little bit about how this was our first intro, since we kind of skipped our pyramid of brands, how this was our first product. Maybe talk a little bit about that and get everybody
Definitely.
tasting it.
Yeah, go ahead. Give yourselves a nice, rich nose feel. We have this thing in Kentucky called the Kentucky Chew. So if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's a little bit of a tasting method where we let the liquid completely surround all of those cheeky parts of your mouth, really just kind of push it through like mouthwash. And then once you get your second sip, you're going to start to get all of the really good stuff out of it. So batch bourbon number 36 is an annual release that we put out 1 or 2 times a year. We started the company back in 2013 with batch number 1. So it is one that is definitely near and dear to our founder Joe's heart. I know he personally touches about 1/3 of the production on each batch that comes out. So with it being one that started the whole thing, it's definitely something close to him. This one in particular is the first time we did a new label on our batch bourbon. So we had this like kind of old idealistic kind of hand style type written numbers that were much smaller on our previous batches. We really wanted something to kind of pop off on the shelf at you a little bit more. So we made the 36 a little bit bigger and kept that really nice authentic handwriting for the proof and the volume of alcohol. So this one's going to be landing at 114.44 proof. The batches typically I'm seeing land between the 115 to 120 range, or 110 to 120 range, I would say, actually. This one here in particular is going to be a 7.5 to 15-year blend. We do line price all of our batches with our core items, our triple cast finish series as well. There are a few products that we make over and over again that we'll let Nick talk about as they come. But this is one that is going to be reinvented year after year. So we usually make about 1,000 to 1,500 6-pack cases for the batches. And then once those are gone, Nick will move on to the next batch and it'll be equally as good, but a little bit different. I'll let Nick kind of talk to the mash bill blend that she created with this one.
Yeah, so just a little more about batches in general to build on what Sam was saying. So every batch of bourbon is meant to be distinctly different from the previous one. They're always cask strength, they're always non-chill filtered. Everything we do is non-chill filtered, and almost everything we do is cask strength. So when I'm starting with a new batch, I'll start with tasting the previous 4 batches just to kind of refresh my mind with the flavor profiles that we've done in the past 4, and then I'll start working on coming up with some lab blends for the next batch. As I do that, I'll go back and blind taste against the previous batches because the idea is to always make something new and exciting. So you might really like batch 36. Batch 37 you might like, but not as much as batch 36, but then batch 38 comes out and you're like, well, this is completely different and I want this one. So the idea is to keep it interesting and always give you something that's very tasty. We almost always have at least 3 different states of distillation in the blends. So we've got bourbon from Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee, 7.5 to 15 years. But the majority of this blend is actually about 8 to 11 years old. So that's kind of where most of the, probably 70% of the blend is around that age range.
Yep.
There are some high rye barrels in this blend with a lot of fruit driven rye, and then there's some chocolatey kind of lower proof barrels for casting.
Oh, was somebody maybe
someone? Anybody got a question, or I guess you, Dave? Are you all right?
Sorry, Caroline was asking me a question. I forgot I hadn't muted my mic. I apologize.
No worries, no worries. Just checking.
Yeah, and if anyone ever does have a question, you can just feel free to ask me. This can definitely be like a conversation and not just me talking to you. So,
all these guys are these guys aren't shy at jumping forward with questions. Don't you worry, Nick.
I'm going to take off this picture again so I can see you all. Every time I share my screen, that I lose you all. So I like people, not PowerPoints.
So this blend was really built around these high rye fruit driven barrels and these kind of darker chocolate kind of coconutty flavored barrels that I found that were a little bit lower proof for cask strength. So at 114 4, that's it's kind of in the middle of for a cask strength blend, but it was a combination of barrels that were closer like 118 and then some barrels that were closer like 110 coming in to get that proof point down.
Can I just ask, Nick? I know you're working with a number of distillates, but do you have kind of some preferences? And this is obviously just personal preferences about, what you get from your blending process and so on. But do you have particular distilleries in the US that you really do enjoy when you hear you've got the latest sort of barrels from them?
Yeah, so there's some big producers that we work with often, and I really like working with them because they're so good at what they do that everything's consistent. So I know what I'm getting. So, at 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, if I'm getting it from the same distillery, I know I have a pretty good idea of what the flavor profile will be before I even taste it, which I really appreciate, and I know that they're consistent. I also like working with kind of some smaller, craftier distilleries that might not have those consistencies, because that's where some of those unique flavors come out that I might not be expecting. But I do have to, you have to kind of search around a little bit. It takes a little bit longer to find those flavors, but it's a part of the job and part of the excitement. We don't really say where we're getting all of our liquid because of NDAs, but I mean, some of the big ones you can probably assume that we work with, and those are the ones that are very consistent, and I appreciate that. And it's always, the liquid's always really good.
Because my first description of barrel craft was probably inaccurate. Well, it is inaccurate because I was kind of describing you as an indie bottler, or like the equivalent of an indie bottler here over in the UK. But actually, you're definitely not an indie bottler. You are definitely a blending house, and that's something we don't. Obviously, we have in the UK. We have a lot of big blenders who, like Johnny Walker and stuff, like the big sort of Scotch blenders, but we don't tend to see that many smaller craft blenders as such. It typically is an indie bottler who's decided, I'm going to create their own signature blends and things like that. So then they don't. Their entire operation isn't built around blending. So it's quite interesting that you guys are coming at this from an angle that's probably slightly different to what we're used to here. I don't know if anybody wants to kind of expand on that in terms of what you all thinking, but that struck me straight away, that actually how many genuine small craft blenders have we got now in the UK that aren't kind of indies really, and kind of doing a bit of blending on the side? Am I right here?
Like, when you said it earlier on, when you said we were an indie bottler, I didn't want to address or change anything then because I knew the story would come out, and that's why when I said we are a blender, not a distiller, I'll let Nick go into it. It's a big difference, and when Joe founded the company, and Nick can attest to it, there was not as many in the U.S. and since COVID, there's an abundance of bourbon and whiskey, and so there's been more that have came onto the marketplace, and a lot that are going to go away. They're all not going to make it because the quality and the credibility and the way that Nick and Joe and Trip are really honest of what goes into our blends, and maybe not exactly where it's coming from, but the derived mash bill. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, Nick, because that was something for me. I came from larger companies before I was over at Barrell, and I thought when I heard what this derived mash bill was, it's very interesting, and we've got to be one of the first, right, Nick, that's done that kind of derived mash bill?
I'm not sure. I've actually never looked at that, but yeah, it's something that we didn't do for a long time because a lot of times people would ask, "What's the mash bill? What's the mash bill?" And in our mind, the mash bill, that's from like a single distillate, and what we were doing is so much more complex than that. Sometimes we're having 7 different mash bills in a blend or more, but as a way to kind of give more information to the consumer who might be interested, and know what a mash bill is, but not know a lot of other things. So they can look at the bottle and kind of see, okay, well, I know what this means. I can understand it, and then I can kind of maybe get a better idea of what the whiskey tastes like. So, so what I do is I just, plug into a spreadsheet all of the total wine gallons of all the different components and those mash bills, and then come up with the derived mash bill of the blend. So on the batch 36, it's 79% corn, 16% rye, and 5% malted barley. So that's kind of in the what we'll say traditional mash bill, a little bit leaning on the higher side for bourbon.
Yeah, my guess is. Yeah, and my guess is if you guys don't have as many blending houses in the UK, you probably haven't even seen that derived mash bill, which is, again, I think it's a really, when you're in the world and you're kind of used to it, you get used to it. But when you step outside the world of blending houses and bourbon, it's an interesting thing, that science that goes into coming up with that derived mash bill to be transparent, instead of just saying, all right, here's this blend, go ahead and drink it.
One of the things that I personally love about Barrell, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from a lot of the tastings that we've done, is your transparency with each blend. So the mash bill, the finishing casks, the cask strength, the origin of the liquid, and it's allowed people to really understand the flavors that all of those things bring out, but then also their own palate, what they're enjoying, and then sort of joining those dots and being able to explore other barrel expressions, but also, just other whiskies in general, being able to sort of develop their palate. So I love the transparency, and it's a big brand to come into. You guys have got a lot of expressions, you have a lot of detail. I think people are experiencing and understanding bourbon from a new standpoint when they do discover just that level of detail that you go into. But once you start getting to know the products and you start getting to know your flavor profile and what you like and what you don't like and where those flavors are coming from, it's a really interesting sort of flavor journey you can go on, like I said, through the barrel range, but also through just through American whiskey and whiskey in general. So yeah, I love the transparency you guys have got around the mash bill. I think it's really, really great.
Well, if you don't have any questions on 36, why don't we move on to the next tram? And why don't we end with, so Catherine, to your point, we have an amazing lineup, and we like to not call our brand complicated. We like to call it, you need to stay on top of it, because again, Nick and team make so many amazing things that if you get behind, we have so many offerings. So why don't we end with kind of showing you a sneak peek of some other things that are coming, but why don't we keep going through these ones we have on hand?
So what would you recommend is oh, sorry, go on, Jürgen.
Do you want to vote on the first one?
Oh, yes,
like we normally
do that. So this might be the first time that you guys have witnessed this, but we tend to do a thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down for what we've tried, just to kind of get a rough feel for, and everything's very personal, you guys have been around enough to know that, it's very personal taste and everything. So, hopefully you'll understand if someone doesn't necessarily give it a full sort of thumbs up and stuff. But what does everybody think? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down, just to kind of get an idea. So Willis, I'll be coming to you. Michael, yeah, okay. So Ken, okay. Oh, Jürgen, you've given us a thumbs up. All right, Gav. John Nickel, what you thinking? We can't see our thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I think Dave, it's fantastic.
All right. Okay. Well, I have to say I've tried a few of the barrel craft so far, and I actually think that might be my favorite so far. And that I've tried a few so far. So that was one of my good one. I'll give it a thumbs up. Dave, what was your view on it? Thumbs sideways. Okay, so starting with you, Dave. Then you gave it a sideways. What was your take on it?
So I thought the nose on this was really interesting, Nick. I couldn't get it straight away, if I'm honest with you. It was in the end, this is going to sound really bad, but it's kind of the smell you when you walk into a hotel room, but it's the leather and the kind of polish and everything that they use. I thought that the reason why I gave it sideways is I'm a very, very big fan of bourbon. I've actually been out to Louisville before COVID. We spent a week kind of traipsing around doing the bourbon trail, which was fantastic. For me, whilst a great whiskey, it was light on the finish for me, great mouthfeel, but then it kind of disappears very, very quickly. So that's the reason why I gave it sideways.
Okay. All right. Cheers, Dave. Willis, you gave a sideways view as well. Sorry, I do tend to kind of look for the outliers, so I kind of go for the people who have maybe given it the more sideways or even sometimes down. But you know, just because it's interesting to hear.
This is interesting.
Willis,
I've not had much bourbon before, and every bourbon I've had I've not liked. Like that, okay, I like that. It was nice. I've not got a bad thing to say about it, other than for my palate, it was just a bit too sweet.
Right.
It was just a bit too much sweetness and not enough whiskey for me. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Did anybody else go sideways on it?
I'm going sideways.
You're going sideways. Okay.
No,
what was your view?
no,
You're a big bourbon fan. What did you think? Because
I thought it was lovely. We've just sampled several bourbons beforehand, and that was by far
the better. So we'd done a bit of a kind of pre-loading, if you like, ready for. So we tried the Woodford Reserve, all typical standard core range bourbons. So we tried that. We tried the Eagle Rare, and we'd also tried a Jack Daniel's Oloroso sherry cask, just to kind of give us a feel for how the kind of mix of sherry influence might have had on it. And I have to say, I think all three of us thought that was by far a step up, and obviously you would kind of expect that to an extent, because that's a small batch. It's higher ABV. There's been a lot of thought go into it rather than the core range stuff that we've been sampling so far. But yeah, I mean that was good. I was just going to ask as well, Gav, you gave it a thumbs up as well. Can you give us your view on it?
Yeah,
obviously it helps if we can hear you.
There we go. Yeah. No, it's good. I've not had that much, but I mean, I've had a handful of supermarket stuff, and a couple of things from mates and stuff that have been on the travel. So everything's new and interesting to me. But now it was an easy drinking. Didn't really feel as high a percentage as it was. So yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, straightforward.
Actually, I think, Gav, you made a really good point there. For 57% ABV, which is what that basically is, boys and girls, divide proof by 2, you get ABV. It doesn't punch like, and this is a good thing, I think. It doesn't punch like a 57%. You could easily drink that without worrying about the kind of alcohol burn you can easily get from that sort of higher strength whiskey.
Yeah, it did strike me the same, actually, that like I had to look at the bottle twice to check what the ABV actually was on it, because it is a very easy drinker. It's dangerously easy drinking. I was going to ask for the room splitter here for for Ken and Paula. You both kind of gave it different levels of one was thumbs up, one was sideways. I think Ken, you were sideways on it, and Paula, you were definitely a thumbs up. What was your views on it?
So I really liked it. I liked the nose. I liked it on the palate. It was nice and soft. Like we said before, it didn't have a long finish, but I found the pepper on the back quite harsh initially. But as I settled into it, that eased.
Yeah.
See, for me, it didn't ease. I found the finish quite bitter.
Right.
But
see, for me,
I
kind of look for that. Or I must be a masochist or something, because I do quite like that kind of almost, like smack me around the face kind of pepperiness and spiciness that sometimes can come in from a variety of different whiskies, not just, well, anything that we have really. It can be if it's high ABV, for example. But yeah, interesting. All right, thank you. So you had a variation between one was smooth and one felt it was kind of carried on going in terms of that peppery or pepperiness. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I did warn you last week though that I'm not a bourbon fan, so that's why Paul is here.
Well, that's why a lot of people bought the sets, and obviously, thank you very much for joining. So at least you get a chance to hear straight from the people who are making it. Nick, I don't know, what do you feel about the feedback you've had?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's so one thing that I find fascinating is people's palates from different parts of the world. So sometimes when I'm doing tasting notes, the aroma that I'm getting is going to be something else if somebody grew up in Australia or in the UK. So I am wondering, before bourbon, are you guys mostly Scotch drinkers, Irish whiskey drinkers, not whiskey drinkers at all? Like, where does your palate start? Your whiskey palate?
Ecumenical, Nick. I'll drink pretty much anything that's got a percentage by the side of it, but predominantly Scotch, to be fair.
So
I think it's big for most of us.
So what was the next sample? Which one are we going with next? Just so we know for people to pour it into their glasses and stuff.
Let's see what we got here. Where's our next? Next one is the winner is Barrell Cask Finish Series Armagnac.
Right.
So I don't know
That's
what number
2.
that was for you.
Yeah, the
Another
Armagnac.
good guess.
Perfect.
So that's number 2 sample.
The Cask Finish series was a program that we were running just last year. So this is also going to be line priced with our core items. You'll notice with our finishing products, we do tend to keep the line price the same as to keep a nice easy flow to our price tiers for you guys. So you will see stuff that's in a singular cast finish, or stuff that's triple cast finished, or even quadruple cast finish sometimes. And we're all going to keep that at that same $84.99 price point for you. This is a series of limited editions that we put out that really wanted to hone in on like one particular cast finish. So with the Armagnac one here, Armagnac, as you guys probably have seen out in the market, is a really nice trending barrel right now. There's a lot of stuff that I think is being finished in Armagnac barrels. It is kind of a sister to the Cognac barrel, you could say. They differ primarily in wood type and the flavor impact and the aging dynamics. And the Armagnac barrels are a lot larger in size, but you really get some amazing like black oak from this type of barrel. And so we decided to do a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, really complemented it with some fruity characteristics and like bold spiciness that came from that Armagnac barrel. So yeah, the youngest blend in this is going to be 7 years old, and then our oldest blend is 15. Our dry mash bill is going to be that 78% corn, 18% rye, and 4% malted barley. And I can let Nick kind of elaborate there on why you chose this to do a cask finish series with.
Yeah, and on the cask finish series, we kind of started this series because we've been known for finishing casks, but we have been known for using multiple finishing casks for Seagrass, which we'll be tasting soon, Dovetail, Vantage. There's 3 finishing casks in all 3 of those products. And we have a private release program where we do individual casks, whiskey blends with 1 finishing cask. But we had never really done bourbon that's finished other than Vantage, but Vantage is all new virgin oak, so not finished in a barrel that had held something else previously, a spirit or wine. So we started the cask finish program, and that is what this is a part of. So the idea is to create a very unique bourbon blend that stands on its own as a bourbon blend, but finished. It's not blended and then all put into one cask. So components are created and then finished in the armient cast and then blended together. So so there's actually a range of time in the finishing cask from 4 to 18 months. And then I dump the liquid out and blend it together.
Nick, I noticed on the mash bill, this was very similar to the previous one. 78% corn, which I think the previous one was 79%. Then it was 16% and 5%, so 16% rye and 5%. Can't remember the last one, if I'm honest with you. Do you typically go for the same sort of mash bill across the overall blending, or is it just happens that these two are just very similar?
Yeah, it happens that they're similar. And one of the interesting things is when you're blending a lot of different mash bills together, you can actually get fairly close to the same mash bill with having a like vastly different blend percentage, because I have some bourbon that is 99% corn, and I have a lot of bourbon that's 13% rye. I've got 36% rye. You've got a lot of variety in there, and so it is interesting that they can become fairly close, but it's not intentional. Usually, one of the things I say all the time is that I let flavor kind of lead the way. So, so if there is the flavor is leading towards a certain direction, then that's the direction I'm going to go.
Nick, you when you buy the spirit, do you buy new make spirit and put it in barrel yourself and then finish it, or is it, because some of the independent bottlers here buy parcels of new make spirit and put it in different casks themselves, or do you buy it in cask and then transfer it into a different cask?
Yeah, most of what we do is we buy aged spirits, so it's already in cask, and that age can vary. So sometimes we're buying 2-year bourbon and we're letting it age in our rick house until it's time to do something with it, or we'll buy 6, 7, 10-year. Just like it depends on what we're looking for. It also depends on sometimes what distilleries have available. So it all varies, but all of the secondary casks that we use, we're putting into those barrels ourselves.
So the bourbon that you get that's in cask, presumably it's in a new wood. It's not in a secondary cask. It's all new.
Right. Yeah.
So if it's
all new American.
If it's 7-year-old, it's going to be pretty vanilla and is it presumably? Yeah.
Yeah, if it's 7, there's usually a lot of vanilla, sometimes butterscotch, but it depends on where it comes from. So sometimes the different yeast strains have a lot of different flavor profiles that come with it too. So sometimes there's 7-year-olds that are like very fruity and tropical, and sometimes there's 7-year-olds that are like a little bit more like baking spice and cookies and chocolate.
That was a good one, Willis, because actually I've been thinking about asking the similar sort of question around, do you guys aim to age some of your own sort of stock, or is the intention to buy at the right time and to utilize the casks as quickly as possible, perhaps doing an additional finish or something like that, but generally you're not aiming to mature stock yourself for very long?
No, we do mature for a while on our own.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends, but most of the time we buy, or we've been buying over the years. So there are definitely barrels that we purchased before I started that we still have in our inventory, and I started in 2019, and we've been buying them every year I've been here. So so the goal is to create a big inventory of different barrels, different flavors to pull from, to be able to use. So if we buy something at 7 years old, we might use some of it right away, but we want to let the rest of it age so we can kind of use it at 9 years old and 10 years old, and whatever makes sense for that time.
I know this is an awkward question, but have you ever got to a situation where you've thought, having sampled a particular cask, you've thought, I can't improve on that?
Like it's perfect as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
And then we
and I think
sell it as
that's a
single
tough one, isn't it? That's a tough one when you're a blender. You've literally got to use that cask no matter what to blend. You know, that's what you do. That's the job. But when you're faced with a situation where you go, oh, that is just perfect. How can I even sully that almost? I would imagine you face that. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in. That wasn't the kind of question. That was almost like a statement.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of like the magical things about tasting whiskey from barrels. So even it still makes me happy if I taste something. I'm like, man, this is so good right now.
Yeah.
You've got a fun story I've heard you share, Nick, in one of these that we've done along the way. I don't remember when it was, about your seagrass story of your first time blending and the journey on that. And I remember you shared a comment. So maybe next is going to be seagrass. So you might be able to share kind of a little bit that story of seagrass, because it plays into your question there on, is it done or is it not yet?
Oh, so Erin, if that is right, if the seagrass is next, then I've cocked up.
I think it is. I think.
I beg to differ.
Well, okay. See, this is why I have people to keep me in line. So 2 from now is seagrass.
Yes. One more.
So I might have it right still.
I think you got it right. Do you want to do the thumbs up, thumbs down before we move on?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Just before we do, can I ask a more of a technical question, Nick? Can this actually be considered a bourbon? Because although it was bourbon, it's been put into an Armagnac cask, which means it's not fresh white American oak. So does that make it no longer bourbon?
So it is still bourbon. The like TTB, which is the regulating body in the United States of alcohol, they have a classification that is bourbon, a blend of straight bourbons finished in a cask. So that's the category it fits in. So it's still under the bourbon, but then it has that finished in addition to the name.
It's often labeled as a straight bourbon whiskey. That way.
So when was TTB updated then to allow that kind of additional finishing? Because I guess that might be relatively new news to us over here in the UK.
It's been a few years. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but maybe 5 years ago or so was when they added it.
Okay. So essentially that allows you to then do exactly what we're seeing in the UK from a Scotch perspective, where you can have multiple finishes and or new maturations. I mean, I guess I personally look at anything over 3 years and 1 day of additional maturation. It is no longer a finish, is an additional maturation. So obviously, that I guess that was where the question was coming from, really, as well. So what would class as a finish and impact whether it was a bourbon or not? Yeah. Okay. So is the third one the cask strength, the cask strength 2026?
Yep. Should we do? Are you doing the thumbs before I put the screen back on? Are you doing the thumbs up, down, sideways?
Up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. What are we thinking, guys? I'm not going to do mine until I see yours. Thumbs sideways. Okay, 2 thumbs up there for the Chilcots. John Nickel. What was yours? Thumbs up. Okay.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought I love the vanilla at the end. Was just fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, I missed yours. Michael Colwell. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thumbs up. Did anybody not do a thumbs up on that one?
I think Dave gave us a sideways again.
Oh, okay. All right, Dave. So I'm going to.
No, I gave you diagonal. So it's not there. It's not there.
Oh, it's kind of. Yeah, it's in the middle. Okay. So that's interesting. I mean, did everybody rate this above the first one? Would everybody say that this was the favorite of the 2?
No, I wouldn't. I like number 1.
Okay.
I do like this one, and for me, this is also a thumbs up. But from the two that we've tried, the first one's the better one for me.
I'd agree. I think the nose on the second one was awesome, and then I didn't quite get as much hit with it as it went through compared to one. But they're both really good.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
We did go down in proof a little bit on the Armagnac from the 36 is at 114.44, so the Armagnac's at 113 even. So just a little difference in the proof there, but
I mean, to be fair, I think
the dodgy French casks. That's all I can say.
Dodgy French casks, yeah. But one thing, I guess most of us here are at least into the sort of single cask, small batch, cask strength stuff anyway. So, sorry, my battery's running low. So yeah, I'll need to plug that in. So yeah, so just to give you a feel for where everybody's coming from, I guess we're typically into that kind of cask strength stuff anyway as a group, I guess. Okay, so I think the Armagnac's got the lead so far between the two, and we're going to dive into it is sample number 3 is the cask strength 2026. So if you want to start pouring your glass if you haven't already. So this is ABV, so it's 110.3 proof, so 55.75, yeah.
Yeah, the New Year is a really
1.5, sorry, yeah.
We don't have New Year on this one, do we? We're going to do this one off of no screen. We're going to do this one off of our brains.
Yeah, sorry, I had sent you 2 PowerPoints. One had New Year, one didn't. So I'll lead into the New Year. New Year is going to be a really interesting blend that we put out. It's a celebratory release, often crafted to mark the arrival of the New Year. So really great bourbon experience with this. We do an annual small batch blend. It's all going to have uniquely distinctive ages, mash bills, geographic origins. This is commonly the most components that we put into any bottle throughout the year. So
that's nice. Yeah, it's more plain.
This one's going to have blend components from Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Wyoming, Maryland, New York, and Ohio, ranging from 5 to 16 years old. It is line priced with our core items, so we're still at that $84.99 price point that you see. This one's a really favorite among collectors. I know a lot of people that like to get their annual release every year, and much like our batches, it will change year over year, but be uniquely as delicious as the last. This one got 93 score on the Whiskey Advocate. So some really great ripe stone fruit. I get a lot of fresh tart apple with this one. And then a little bit of like that pumpkin pie finish for me. So curious what you guys think.
And I think what's fun about our New Year release, as Sam said, it's our annual release that Nick and team get to put out as we head into the new year. So it actually hits the US market in September of 26, will be New Year 2027. And then it spreads through the year depending on how the release goes. This release you have in your hands, we put in September, and it was our smallest release of the year. So I believe we were about 1150, if I remember right. Nick squeaked a little bit in there at the end. I think about 1150, which was our smallest. And we had it sold out, I believe, by the end of November. So whatever distributors had it, whether it was Axiom for you all in the UK or our US distributors, we were not shipping any after November of 2026, which means this has been a hard one for our US collectors to find. And I think what's fun about these, and Nick can talk about it more, is she gets to use some small distillate from companies that we don't have enough maybe to go into larger blends, and that really changes it up each year.
What's the ABV on this one?
This one is 110.3 proof, so 55% ABV.
Thank you.
Do you guys, and this is a general question because I think the answer to this is likely to be no, but I could easily be wrong. Did Jack Daniels play ball with you guys at all? Are you able to get any of their casks? And if there's you can't for NDA reasons, then, you know, a nod is as good as a word, you know what I mean?
They don't tell me. I'm in the sales team. I'm too loose-lipped.
Yeah, you can't have us answer that. Only Nick can answer that.
Uh-huh.
Us salespeople are, not can't keep our mouth shut.
They don't make us privy to those details.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing I usually say about Tennessee bourbon is people typically think that we get all of our bourbon from one distillery in Tennessee, but there are a number of distilleries in Tennessee that we can get our bourbon from. So I can't really say which distilleries, but that we get Tennessee bourbon from a handful of distilleries.
I suppose Jack Daniel's is considered a sour mash whiskey, isn't it? It's not actually a bourbon because it runs through charcoal.
Yeah. But
so do you use any sour? I'm assuming sour mash whiskey isn't something you typically see within your blends then.
No, it's not. But if they distill it and they don't run it through the charcoal, then it is a bourbon. But about the new year, so Sam went over the different states, and so it's 17. It's bourbon from 17 different states, and within those different states, there's 17 different components total. So it's a lot. This is a fun one for me to blend, but it's also a complicated one to blend. But it's like a big flavor puzzle where I have to try to make everything harmonize with each other instead of fight with each other, and I enjoy that type of puzzle. So it's fun, and there's also some wheated bourbon in this one. So on the dry mash bill, 74 corn, 21 rye, 4 malted barley, and 1% wheat. So that's also a fun addition to add into the mix there. And I'm currently in the lab blending our next New Year bourbon. So that's another fun thing. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see it or not, but our New Year label for this year has completely been updated. So it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more lively, and I'm excited to get this one out there.
Yeah, I love the new label. Great job on that.
That's fun.
Nick, you've not mentioned what on the labels or on the descriptions. You've mentioned the regions or the states that the whiskies come from, but not the distilleries. Is that a bit like is that like a Highland Lowland equivalent of Scottish and Highlands and Speyside? Is that what you're trying to achieve by that label, or not?
I think Willis, one of the things they mentioned was about the NDA side of things. So it's a bit like when we have naming rights on casks. So obviously in the UK they get that a little by describing casks as kind of teaspooned and things. So in the US, I'm not sure if they have anything similar to that where you can kind of you don't have the naming rights to be able to, or under NDA you're not able to necessarily name the distillery, but I suspect that there's not a similar kind of teaspooned kind of approach to how you might be able to describe a particular distillery or distillate that you're using. Is that correct, Nick?
So we use the states to try to answer the first question. So it's not like exactly like the Lowlands, Highlands, Isla. There's not necessarily distinct differences, but there are regional differences. So bourbon from Texas is, it's very hot and dry and humid in Texas, so it ages a lot faster. So it's like very bold and can be, bottled sooner because it's so hot down there. Kentucky bourbon typically has like a style, even though there's a lot of different distilleries in Kentucky, so there are a lot of differences within those styles. So it's to try to give as much information as we can without breaking those NDAs.
Carl, your teaspooned example is typically an indie bottler bottling a cask of whiskey that they can't call it that. So Burnside or whatever, it's teaspoon Balvenie. So unlike, I guess, from what we've heard from Nick so far, which is they're using, I think so far, most blends have used at least 4 or 5 different distilleries where it wouldn't be teaspooned. So it's essentially a teaspoon is essentially single cask by another name, isn't it? Whereas this is actually truly blended.
I was purely meaning from the point of view of like their use of, or from the North Americans' use of NDA, i.e. you're not allowed to use our name in your mash bill, or like in your vatting, in your blend. Whereas in the UK it might be, well, you're not allowed to use our name in your release because it's same sort of thing. But teaspoon kind of gets round that whole naming convention for that particular distillate. Whereas in the US, I'm guessing that there isn't that option to kind of fall back on a kindly well used sort of naming convention around that particular distillery. That was all I was kind of meaning. Now I know what you mean. It's not a single cask.
Yeah, and I have seen some of that in the United States. Like there were some buff turkey, and it was like Buffalo Trace and Wild Turkey together. That was going around for a while. But again, what we're trying to do, like we want to create something totally unique using these different distilleries. We're not trying to make our products like off of their names. We're trying to have our own thing.
Yeah, which is obviously the big differentiator between being an indie bottler that's essentially taking distillate and maybe doing whatever they want to do with it and then releasing it, whereas you're trying to bring a bunch of distillate together and create your own sort of thing from it. Yeah.
And I think that's what makes our brand so fun, but yet so complicated if you're behind on it, because our releases can just keep going. We are not a distiller that has to keep making the same product over and over. And also Nick can do so many unique finishes that it really makes it fun to continue to innovate. And our consumers in America think of us that way. And there's, in a lot of ways, that's a good thing. When we put something out, we have instant sales, but in some ways it can be a challenge because Nick is continually innovating and continually producing to kind of, figure out what is the next best fun thing that we can put in the market.
Yeah. Okay.
So we should go on to, it looks like we've got about 5 left in the time, or how much time do we have left? Let's do a time check to make sure are we till 4? Are we till 4:30 US time?
So to be honest, sometimes these things can go on much longer than originally anticipated. But let's do the old thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down for this one. Why don't we get a view on people? Or any other comments on this before we do the old thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways? Any other comments?
I love the complexity, Carl. This is interesting because he got lots into it. It's very complex compared to the previous one, which I thought was one-sided spiciness throughout. Didn't change me really much. But this one, it's a funky one. So I like the new year.
So cool. I thought this one was a bit more comparable to number 1. Did you feel the same? The Armagnac kind of stood out a little bit, obviously because of the finish. Did you find this comparable to the first one, or where does it kind of sit in your?
This is for me like a Scottish one, close to Scottish one. The first one for me was dark honey, velvety, thick, velvety, rich honey, but in a velvet coated, cocoon sort of type. It was very much bourbon-like in a sense.
Yeah.
Very, very nice to drink. Yeah, enjoy that one.
So and whereas you think this one is a bit more of a Scotch kind of hit to your palate.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, more complexity to it.
Is that because it's more complex, or because you pick up notes of like smoke and peat and those kind of things typical to more Scottish whiskies?
Oh heck, I didn't pick up any smoke or peat on this one.
Okay,
I'm with
I was
Jorgen
just curious
on this one. This to me is like a Speyside blend. This is a Speyside blend, Jürgen, and you've got it. I think you've nailed it there, my friend. It's a Speyside blend for me, this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yep. Okay,
What do
so
you think of
let's
that, Nick? That'd be interesting to see your thoughts on that, Nick, that they're picking up some
No,
of that. Do you pick up it?
I like that. I mean, it's probably because there's so many different components in there, and those kind of crafty distilleries add a unique flavor profile in there. So I like that. I'm gonna have to get a Speyside whiskey and compare it. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
Dave, if you do a blind tasting, you put that into blind tasting section. That could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of reminds me of a something like the Glenlivet 15 or something like that, where you've got a bit of an additional finish on it. But you're right. Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, it's definitely got that Speyside feel, but it's definitely got a bit of an additional finish to it. It's not just a standard bourbon maturation Speysider. It's definitely got something else to it, and obviously that's the sweetness from the mash bill that you're using and things. So yeah, shall we do the old
for me?
Yeah,
Aberlour, Linkwood, Ardmore. There you go. There's the three that probably closest for me represents.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the Aberlour for me. Actually, you've hit that on the nail for me. Yeah. So Aberlour, the 12 or 10 even would probably be very similar to that kind of. But obviously their core range, they're at 40%. So it's probably slightly hitting below what we're trying tonight in terms of that ABV hit, but definitely similar kind of profile. Okay, right, let's do it then. Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. Ooh, thumbs sideways down. Right, okay. Charlie, thumbs up for you. Right, okay. Sorry, Matt, I missed you. Thumbs up, okay. And Jürgen, you were a thumbs up on this one? Yeah, okay. All right, okay. So, actually, I didn't even look at you, Dave. What was yours? Dave,
He's teetering.
Just you, buddy.
Sorry.
He's gone from this to
The
this.
screen froze there for a second or so. Okay.
I agree with you, Carl. This had a lot of the taste of the first one for me, but I quite liked. I thought this was, for me, this is slightly. Maybe it's a little bit more Scotch. I'm not I love bourbon, so it's not about that. But I thought that this had that kind of. I love a huge fan of Aberlour, big fan. So I think for me, that's kind of what turned this from a kind of sideways into where we were. But of the three so far, I'm still going to come back to that Armagnac.
Yeah, I think. Oh well, actually, let's have a vote. Who would vote the Armagnac as their top one still, or?
That's the second one.
Yeah, the second one. Okay, so Willis is joining in. Ken, was that you kind of agreeing? Kind of. Yep. Okay. Okay. But Paula, you're not. What was your favorite so far, Paula?
The Armagnac one. I was unsure on the last one, but I am not a whiskey drinker.
Okay.
And it was going too much towards whiskey.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Grand. All right. Well, that kind of gives you a bit of a feedback in terms of number 3. So I'm guessing I might have got number 4 right. That is the Seagrass, and this is what I'm really looking forward to hearing your opinion on.
It's the first time ever he's got them all bang on.
It doesn't happen very often, but I'm looking forward to
It's never happened, Carl. It's never happened.
Never.
You've almost got it, and then you got the last 2 wrong, like on the 6er for once. But you've done it bang on, my friend.
Oh, no, where did our deck go now? Now our deck went away on me.
All right. But yeah, so we have number 4, which is actually Seagrass. And this is one that I'm really looking forward for you guys to try. Not because I'm necessarily thinking it's going to be the better of them all. It depends on your own view, but this is quite a unique dram, I think. And I think you guys are, well, we'll see what you think.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that got me invested into this brand as a fan before I ever started working for them. The Seagrass, I can promise you, will have the most unique finish of any whiskey you've probably ever tasted. At least that's the case most 10 out of 10 times that I talk about it. The Seagrass is going to be our core finished rye. Something that's really cool about our core products is as we're releasing them time over time, we're not always able to source those same materials over and over and over again. So when you do get your hands on a bottle, you'll notice there is a little Easter egg at this very, very bottom or very middle of the where the grass and the sky meet one another. There's a little number there. Mine is 12. And sometimes the proof will just vary a % or two based on the production run. So sometimes it's 119, sometimes it's 120. I'll let Nick elaborate a little bit more on that, but I know that in the bourbon community, we love Easter eggs on the bottle. So I always like to tell people about that before I forget. This is going to be a really great blend of American and Canadian rye, though. That's why we save it for last. As a rye, it's going to pack that really nice spicy punch, but also really tropical notes with the triple cast finish series that we did on this with Martinique rum, Madeira, and apricot brandy barrels. This has been our best-selling cast strength release year over year since it came out. It's definitely number 2 in our portfolio behind our Barrel Foundation bourbon. It's the winner of 12 awards, including San Francisco Double Gold, Chairman's Trophy at the Ultimate Spirits Challenge. You got Rob Rapport's Best of the Best. Really great cocktail kind of opportunity as well with this one. Makes a hell of a Rye Tie if you guys are interested in any cocktail creations at home. Mai Tai, but with the rye. This one is absolutely my favorite. It's a really fun story about how it got its name. Our founder, Joe, was vacationing, enjoying some free time, and he was sitting on a coastal line here in the US, I think it was in the Carolinas, and he was looking at this beautiful grass kind of blowing in the water, and he was getting a lot of that salt and wind kind of in his face, and he went to Nick and said, I want you to make a bourbon based off of this feeling I had on vacation. So Nick, I'll lead to you on how to describe how you came up with that off of the way you did.
I'm going to take off so everybody can not see the presentation and we can all chat.
Yeah, so true story, Joe did have this name, Seagrass, in mind. He knew he wanted to be a rye whiskey with 3 cask finishes, but he didn't know anything beyond that other than the feeling he had with the standing on the coast with the salinity in the air, the wind blowing through what he thought was seagrass. But we later found out after releasing the product as seagrass that seagrass actually grows under the ocean. So it wasn't the same grass he was looking at, but he came up with a cool name for that. And then we partnered with the foundation to donate money to the Seagrass, Real Seagrass Foundation, because it is apparently endangered. So kind of a cool story, but from a blending perspective, it was one of the most interesting blends to come up with, because how do you, rye whiskey, you can look at your inventory of rye whiskey and kind of come up with some ideas, but then you want it to feel like the ocean and have some saltiness to it and have this feeling. So it really took a long time to get to the answer, and it was a lot of R&D, a lot of testing different finishing casks and different types of rye, and ultimately we landed on a blend of American and Canadian rye whiskeys, which Canadian rye whiskeys can have a sort of herbal, grassy quality to them on their own, even without being finished. And then in the Indiana rye that we use the most of is very fruit forward, even though some people think of rye as, or a lot of people think of rye as being very like spicy and intense. There are a lot of fruit flavors that can come out in really good American rye. So playing with the flavor profiles that were in those rye whiskeys on their own, and then adding the casks to the mix. So Martinique rum, which is also known as rum agricole, and tends to be an more of an herbal, grassy kind of rum, and Madeira casks and apricot brandy casks. So with this blend, we finish some of the components in individual casks, and some of them will create a blend together and put them in the casks. So they spend time in the cask separately, and we let them finish, and then we blend them together to create Seagrass.
When I drink this one, I always remember that we are the kind of company that does not cut corners. It's not the cheapest or the fastest way to make a whiskey, but we do it the right way. And something to note about us is that we are always aging our products in the entirety of these barrels, because the laws on that are pretty loose these days. So you can take staves, you can take spirals, you can even take wood chips of a finishing barrel, throw them in your American oak barrel, and then suddenly it's a finished bourbon. But you're not going to get these kind of wood sugars and flavor characteristics off of those types of variations of barrel finishing, as opposed to using the full barrel the way that we do. I mean, the head of the barrel provides a different wood sugar than the sides and the staves of the barrel does. So it's just an all around like necessity for our brand to make sure that our liquid is touching the entirety of those barrels and reaching all of those different wood grains.
And I think this was the first product that Nick can probably tell her story of, to answer your question when you asked, how do you know it's done? When I've heard you tell this story before, Nick, of this was your first one that you did on your own. I think this is kind of fun. I don't know if you remember the story. I hope you do.
I think you're thinking of a different story.
I thought this was Seagrass was the first one that you blended on your own. And the story, if I remember, was that Joe, I don't remember what it was, but something you did it on your own. And he'd ask you, is it ready? And you were like, nope, not yet. At least remember the way I remember you talking. And then he'd ask again, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. Until one day you just said, it's done.
Yeah, so that is a true story. My first blending here, but it was a different blend. It was a batch, and it was I was only here for like 2.5 months, and Trip was sick for a whole week.
That was it.
But we had to finish this blend and bottle it. And so Joe was like, okay, he's like, I need you to pull a sample. We need to finish this blend. And so we pull a sample and we taste it, and it was like, it's close, but it wasn't right. But at that point, I wasn't even officially on the blending team, so I didn't know what to suggest or what to do. So I was like, okay, we'll try it tomorrow. So we did that for 5 days, and on the 5th day it was perfect, and both of us looked at each other. We're like, it's perfect. And we literally did nothing except for let it sit in the tank, and that was my first lesson in sometimes the whiskey needs to mingle in the tank for longer, and that can make a huge difference. So that's the story you're thinking of.
So Nick, so Nick, just to let you know, I've had a number of conversations with a number of blenders and indie bottlers over here in the UK, and they say there's an art form around that vatting or blending process between barrels. And some have said to me that often you're looking at, leaving the liquid to kind of meld together for a month or so before you genuinely get the good feel to what you're producing. So when you were talking about days, I actually thought you might have said weeks. But you know, so there is a bit of an art form around that whole vatting process.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
think about
and
the close of an eye she has to keep on everything if it's only days apart or some, you know, versus weeks. It's
Yeah, I mean, that batch
under
could
her
go
watchful
really
eye.
fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically
It's
saying is Nick has to get a taxi everywhere just to make certain, which is always nice. I'm sure, Nick. Hopefully, it's a nice stretched Hummer or something every day, but I don't know. I did have one question. So there's a specific reason which I won't bore everyone with, but again, a wink is as good as a nod. Do you ever use peated bourbon? And if so, have you ever used MacArthur's at all?
MacArthur's.
It's Oregon.
What was that?
It's from Oregon. So, as I said, there's a very long, boring story, other than to say that an ex-boss of mine who's based in the US once gave me a bottle. There's a special meaning for the two of us behind it, but I just wondered if you ever used them at all.
I have not used any peated bourbon. We did do a product one point called vatted malt, and it was a blend of American malt whiskeys, and we had some peated malt whiskey, but not peated bourbon.
Nick,
so
on that
sorry,
one,
go on, Willis.
Yeah, I've noticed on the first slide you had one or two cigar bourbons. Is that from the cask? Presuming that means it's a bit smoky, I guess. I'm presuming they're a bit smoky. Is that from the cask or?
So yeah, we launched a cigar blend this year. It's the first time we've ever done one. There are different, we'll call them loose definitions that distilleries will use in making cigar blends. So sometimes it is like a single cask selection with that the whiskey pairs really well with the cigar. Sometimes it is whiskey that is finished in a finishing cask and meant to pair really well with the cigar. And sometimes it is a whiskey blend that can give like the similar flavor profiles that you find in cigars. So for ours, what I tried to do is I wanted to create a bourbon that could be paired well with cigars, but also can be enjoyed by non-cigar smokers and give you kind of a little bit of the similar flavor profiles that you can find in cigars.
Yeah, so Willis, my understanding behind cigar malt is it may not necessarily have any reference whatsoever to smoke or peat in terms of, from our understanding from the UK side of things, it is more about what might pair with a cigar itself, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be smoky or peaty in itself. So I don't know, like, because I used to think that as well, and I've since heard that isn't necessarily the case. So
I've only had two. Had the one from Tom
Martin and yes, and Tom and Tal,
and they're both smoky. So I just presume that's what
they.
Right.
Yeah. But
I was just gonna say, our cigar blend, I feel Nick did a really good job of making it stand out on its own, as well as being paired with a variety of cigars. So it's not a blend that needs a cigar per se. Yeah. It is something that will pair with a variety of cigars, and I think that's just what cigar blends mean. Yeah. It's just a suggestive pairing versus it's like, you know, if you saw a steakhouse blend or if you saw like another type of blend, it's just like a pairing kind of suggestion versus it being an actual cigar flavor in the bottle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I would definitely say that one of the things that I would love to try at some point in the future would be a full-on mix between something like Lafroig or like, you know, like a big peaty kind of malt with some of what you're doing in terms of the bourbon side of things. That sweet peat would be amazing. You know, like I don't know whether I'm kind of completely out on my own limb here, but that it just feels as if this would be ideal for that.
Oh, Carl, we've been there. We've done this. We have the Tale of Two Islands.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which is in front of us today. But Nick and I were just up in Pennsylvania together doing some work, and they still had the cast strength Tale of Two Islands that we produced last year available up there, which was a fantastic blend of Isle of Scotch finishes and Barbados rum. Nick, do you want to
Jamaican rum? Yeah,
Jamaican rum. Thank you.
It's a bit of a story, but we had Lefroy casks that we finished we finished 8-year Jamaican rum in, and this was I think in 2018. So we finished the rum in the casks, and made an awesome rum blend. We called it Tale of Two Islands. And then we put bourbon in those casks.
Oh.
And so the Tale of Two Islands cask finish was a bourbon that was finished in those casks that most recently had 8-year Jamaican rum in, and before that had peated Scotch. Yeah, so it's
very nice.
We were just drinking it last week, and it had been a while since I'd had it, and I just like that combination really is pretty good. So I'm brainstorming some other ideas with some peated Scotch casks. So maybe we'll have something soon.
Yeah.
Samantha, can I ask who's coming over to Carl's place event in September? Are you going?
I wish. Bring me to the UK, please.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Aaron,
I'm not sure.
It will be the Axiom team. So yeah, we've got a couple of the team coming up from London to come and meet you guys at the show.
Okay. Will be some seagrass with you?
Of course, it's again a personal favorite, so we tend to take that, and I think it really shows what Barrell are all about. It's such a standout whiskey. There's so much to talk about. There's so much interesting flavor going on, so it's always part of our core tasting range for that reason.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about seagrass too? Like I am admittingly a seasonal drinker. Typically I gravitate towards my bourbon whiskeys in the winter with a little bit of red wine. And then when spring and summer come, I typically go to like my tequila life. But the seagrass is my summer sipper bourbon. I actually have called it a patio pounder a couple times. Put it in a Mai Tai cocktail type variation, and it is amazing. Or even just over a little bit of crushed ice. The water really will help open up a lot of our products and help them kind of evolve in their flavor dynamic as well. So no shame in putting a little ice with your cast strength whiskey or even making a cocktail with it. This is one in particular that I would personally recommend giving it a try for, because this opens up really nicely. Almost with those finishes becomes a cocktail flavor of its own. A little
I'm
orange
currently
peel
drinking
or
it
something.
over a little ice. It is my favorite over one. It helps me manage the cast strength piece. But two, I definitely put some ice on this, and you will all see what Sam is saying. The flavor notes really come out. Really, really great.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out.
What was the strength of this? Sorry, Carl. What was the strength of this one? I didn't catch that. I apologize.
123.
120.
It's around 119 or 120 typically. It depends on which production run bottle that you're currently drinking out of.
So this is 119.12.
Yep. And see, mine's 120.2. So we have different production runs. But that means that Nick has done everything by taste though. So in order to take components that she has currently in her inventory and make a consistent product, it might have to be a little bit of a variation or two in the proof degree, just because she's doing it all by taste. So
and because it's cash.
Yeah.
I appreciate you've had one sideways and two kind of Harvey towards the up. You do a really good job of masking the ABV. Oh, sorry, the proof. So alcohol can be quite, a little bit like a rye whiskey, can be quite peppery, as in quite hot. I don't find these stupidly hot. I never really find bourbon stupidly hot, but you can get them. Done a really good job with these in kind of keeping that heat out, but allowing the flavor to direct the heat as opposed to the alcohol.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's one thing that all three of us on the blending team are incredibly sensitive to. We want to make sure that the palate, you're getting all flavor and not the alcohol burn, especially since we're doing cask strength. I mean, I've definitely had a 120 proof bourbon that all you're getting at first sip is the alcohol, and we don't want that. We want these to be approachable. We want them to surprise people. Sometimes, you have to let everyone know, this is a high ABV whiskey because it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing, but the challenge of our brand, you have a couple and you're out, and it's happened to me multiple times, and you forget the proof you're drinking because you don't taste it, and it can make for a rough morning, that's for sure.
I was just gonna say, sometimes Nick is too good at her job. We actually release about an annual hazmat that comes out around 142 proof, and it's finished in Hungarian oak and Spanish brandy, nice. And some other things about it. Like it's our decade 2 and decade 1 are the ones in particular that I've tried of our hazmat collections, and it's a pretty cool story because it's a barrel from 1995 to 2005, one from each year, which represents a full decade of distillation. And she's managed to harmonize all of those into one blend that does not give off 142 proof. I mean, you drink it and it's just as silky as this. So it's a little dangerous.
It can be dangerous.
I say with utter respect to everyone on this call, especially Jürgen, because I consider you part of the club, buddy. We're Brits. We're kind of used to alcohol, so we're all good with this. It's good.
Keep an eye out for the black label then.
Yeah. Dave, to come back to you, I think this is a curveball. I'm not a cricketer, but this is a curveball. So meaning curveball is you're starting off, I thought it was medicinal, and then I got a honey, and you're thinking afterwards, no, it changed again. And it's like, hang on, I have another drum. I need another drum to figure out what is this going on.
I mean, changing.
It does change.
And back to the point we made before, do it again the next time with some ice, and you're going to even pick up differences.
Sorry, Erin, I can't do ice.
Maybe
a little bit.
All right, then don't do it.
Do you know what? On the nose of this one, I thought, oh shit, I'm disappointed almost. And then I tried it, Nick, and you're going to get a thumbs up from me on this one. This is brilliant. Like this is truly brilliant. But I'm a big rye fan. I enjoy rye whiskey at the best of times. So I'll take rye over bourbon most of the time. But this, like Jürgen said, it keeps delivering. And it has that long finish. It's a little bit spicy, but not. It has a great mouthfeel, and it just keeps coming back at you. A couple of the other ones have like made your lips tingle towards the end, which I love, but this just delivers throughout. So, bar the nose, but I accept that. Rye whiskey typically is a little bit more minty. It's a little bit more floral as opposed to the kind of bourbon notes that you will get. This is a brilliant whiskey.
It's very distinctive.
Thank you.
That's what I enjoy about it. It is one that I don't think I've had something quite the same from a nosing and palate perspective. It is quite different to what I've had elsewhere. So it is, like I say, very distinctive for me. So yeah, enjoying it. So shall we do the old thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down on this one? Oh, Dave, you didn't need to jump in quite so quick.
I already gave Nick enough thumbs up on this. I don't think there was going to be a doubt on this one.
We got you in the end,
okay,
Dave.
Ken, all right, okay. So Ken's sideways and Paula's thumbs up. Charlie, your thumbs up. Michael's thumbs up. You've been very quiet actually tonight. I'm going to come to you anyway, Michael. So I want your opinion on these. So Gav, your thumbs up. John, I didn't see yours. John Nickel. Thumbs up as well. Okay. Grand. Okay. So, Charlie, you've been very quiet. What have you thought of this one and perhaps the other three before it?
Yeah, I really like this one. I wouldn't say it was my favourite. I think number 3 was my favourite of the night, though.
Okay. And what stood out about the 3?
I don't know. I just think the taste and the finish was better for me.
Right.
The finish in number 4 was really nice, but it's got something that I'm just not 100% sure of.
Right. And is that because it is quite a different sort of dram? It's not. You'd almost like I'd struggle to identify this as a bourbon if it was in a blind tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
there's something there that I just can't put my finger on. That it's like Marmite. I'm not sure if I like it or not.
Yeah. Well, how many times have we come across that?
Yeah.
No. Cheers, Charlie. Okay. So, was there anybody else who had any opinions on this? I'm almost tempted to come to you and to Ken and Paula to get their view to see if I can start an argument.
We've been married for 23 years, mate. You got no chance of that. Paula liked it. It's one of her favourites. She's had to go and deal with the puppy, so she's back in the room, but the other side. For me, I think I'm very noticeable of salt.
Right.
And as soon as I'm getting a salty taste, then that's it's just pushing it back for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah.
What was your favourite?
I'm torn between the Armagnac and the number 3.
Okay.
But the Armagnac in this house gets the vote.
Yeah. Is that the same for you, Paula, as well, the Armagnac?
It is, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, holy moly. Here we are. We've done all 4 of the wonderful drams in. I hope you've had a good time. Thank you very much, guys, for coming along and enjoying this. And thank you very much from our US cousins over there to join us tonight, and also from all the guys from Axiom as well for making this happen. Was there any other comments? Anybody want to throw anything last in? Obviously, if you want to stick around, you're welcome to. Also, can I just check as well where's the best retailer, or like how do people get a hold of Barrel Craft right now in the UK, or do we all wait until the festival in September?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. So I was going to send you a link after the call to send around to everybody, which will have the expressions that we've tasted this evening, including the Tale of Two Islands. We've actually got a few bottles left. You'll be very pleased to hear, Carl. So I'll send you that link. But we're then with all of the major retailers like the Whiskey Exchange, Master of Malt, with lots of independent retailers as well. I will say we're a little light on the ground in your region, so hopefully after Indie Fest. No, I know you guys have got it tough. You haven't got the sort of the best selection in bricks and mortar, but obviously online these days it is good. And when you can take part in these masterclasses and actually sort of taste some liquid and get some samples of some interesting things. So yes, I'll send a link through this evening. It will have a little discount code if anybody would like to buy one of the bottles that has got a thumbs up for the evening. And we'll also obviously be at the festival later in the year with we'll bring the seagrass. That's been a resounding positive, so it'll be really nice to share with some other members, but I'll make sure that we bring some different liquids across as well. We may have an under the counter dram in the form of the Barrel Gold bourbon. So this is their top end range. Please don't tell everyone about it, because we will not have a huge amount of liquid with this, but for everyone that's been kind enough to spend their Friday evenings with us, I'll make sure that we've got a little sample of that. And, you know, naturally, we're all big single malt Scotch whiskey drinkers, and that's probably where a lot of us have started our journey into whiskey. And hands down, I have never tasted an American whiskey that drinks like a 30-year-old single malt. And that's the Gold Bourbon. It is the most outstanding liquid, and it was one of the reasons. It was the Gold Bourbon, and it was also the Seagrass that we really connected with Barrell, and have the complete belief that it will be a future category leader for American whiskey in the UK and globally. They're very much on that journey. They've got a long history in the US, obviously very new to our shores. But like I said, it was the Seagrass and also the Gold label bourbon that it was, you know, undeniable that this is a brand of the future. So we'll make sure we've got an under-counter dram of that, so please come and introduce yourself to the guys. I don't know if I'll be up there, it's TBC for me at the moment, but please just come and say that you took part in the tasting this evening, and I'll make sure that they've got a little dram for you to try.
Great stuff.
And Catherine, any chance you'll have some of the cigar that's on its way over up at that event, or?
Yes, hopefully, indeed. It's on the water at the moment.
It's on the water, yep.
I hate relying on this on the shipping timetables because it's already been delayed by 2 weeks. But we are super excited to be bringing over. We've got a tiny allocation for the UK. We've managed to beg, borrow and steal from Erin to make sure that we've got at least a few cases to share with some of the amazing supporters that we've got over here, both in trade and consumer. So we will have the cigar blend hopefully by the time the show comes. So again, we'll have a little bit of liquid to share with that, but you know, the liquid is fantastic. The reviews that it's got so far are really good as well. So hotly anticipated, that one, that's for sure.
Actually, awesome. I forgot to go back to you, Michael. What was your views? Sorry, apologies. I meant to actually ask you specifically because you've been very quiet. What was your views? What was your favourite?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones I've never had anything that tastes like that Seagrass one before, and I probably say I'll never ever have anything that tastes like that again. So for me, that's a real winner. The original bourbons, I mean, you go back to it being a more like bourbon style tasting, I guess, but yeah, that Seagrass has kind of just knocked me over really as that fourth dram.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, Michael. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for coming along, and hey, you know, like what a fantastic tasting. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Hope you've enjoyed the whiskey, and yeah, just thank you very much. And I'm not sure what else more I can say, really. I mean, it's been a bit of a stunner tonight, and yeah, thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate the time. We think it's
at some point.
Yeah, we think it's really great that we got to spend the evening with you all, even though we're just coming into our evening. I guess we get to redo our evening. So we really appreciate it. I think it's great to find some friends over the pond and make some new ones. So thank you all for the time.
Well, a lot of the people who got sets as well weren't able to join us on like tonight. So I'll be sharing the recording and sharing the lineup and stuff, and also any of the further details. And most of those guys are coming to the Indie Festival as well. So hopefully they'll get a chance of, particularly the Seagrass, trying that. But actually, I still think the first one was damn fine. So thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
I can get your email from Ned and send you the deck that we built over if you want to share it out with the team.
Yeah, please. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks.
Nick,
Thanks,
the last
Samantha.
one, apricot brandy caught my eye. That's why I joined this, because Carl always throws out some interesting ones. So apricot brandy, how did you find it? And our second one is, do you have anything more very interesting and unusual coming in?
The apricot brandy was kind of just an opportunity to find the casks, and we really liked them, so we were able to get some more. And you know, when we're looking for casks, we're looking for something unique, but also something that is going to add the right kind of flavor profile that we want for the whiskey, and it just worked really well with the rye whiskey, the blend of the Canadian and the American rye. As far as other unique things similar to that, we have some quince brandy casks that we're working with, and some pear brandy casks that we have worked with in the past, and we still have things in them now. So if those are probably in line with the apricot brandy as far as uniqueness.
Has anybody tried a quince brandy finished whiskey? That's the first for me.
Carl, I've never tried a quince brandy, so let's just stop there.
Actually, that's yeah, you're true. That's absolutely true.
I'm sure the SWA wouldn't allow a quince brandy finish whiskey.
I don't think so.
I don't know of a quince brandy whiskey yet.
So to Nick, Erin, and Samantha, I know that Carl obviously extended his thanks, but as someone who attends these, just thank you very much. I appreciate for you guys. It's early in your day. You've all collectively actually got your evening to come, because if I'm not too much mistaken, well, depending on what, I'm assuming you're kind of East Coast. So if you are, it's coming up for 20 to 5. So
I'm in the
for spending your
Motherlands.
afternoon with us.
Nick and I are in
we
the
get to
motherland
now
of
start our
Louisville.
evening again. So we appreciate it.
This was my happy hour. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I suppose if you're in Louisville, you're 6 hours
Cheers.
behind. So it's for you guys, it's 3:30, isn't it, in Louisville?
Central. Louisville's still Central.
No, we're at Eastern.
Oh, sorry, still East time. Geez, still East time.
Well, slange bye, everybody. Cheers.
Slange bye.
Yes.
Thank you
Cheers.
very
Cheers.
much. Take care.
Cheers.
Until next time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.